Sudan is an Arab African country with Khartoum as its capital. Located in the
Is it audible?
northeast of Africa and its official language is
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes,
sir,
sir, it's
it's
audible.
audible. Yes.
But is it the only spoken language in Sudan? The answer is no. There is 114 languages and more than 500 local accents in here. This is due to the presence of 517 tribes in Sudan. It's not only the difference of languages that distinguishes tribes from each other, but also the difference in cultures, costumes, dance, and music. Let's get to know some tribes and their dances as an example so you can understand the difference that I'm talking about. And if you are a fan of cultural tourism represented by the activities of various tribes and ethnicities and the musical models and traditional costumes that offer, you will enjoy this, I promise. Let's start from the far north. The Nubians on the Egyptian border. They speak the ancient Nubian language and they have a distinctive rhythm to dance to. And what this girl wears is a Nubian woman's costume called Jarjar. Jarjar is an ancient Nubian costume and it's considered the most important heritage of the Nubian women's heritage. It dates back to the reign of the kingdom of Nuba in 1316 AD. In the past, the Nubian women used to wear it in all colors, and after the death of the Nubian Kushite king Tirhaka, the black color of the Jarjar prevailed and the Nubian women wore it in black only in sorrow for the death of their great king. Girls and women wear it over their colorful gowns and it varies from one form to another in terms of embroidery, but it keeps the black color and the extra length from the women's feet to erase the traces of their walking. Let's go down a little bit to find the El tribes, speaking Arabic but in a different dialect. Their traditional outfit is Sudanese top and jalabiya. They dance to the tones of tambour and drum. And from the east, there are Albija tribes, which are divided into 6 tribes, and each tribe speaks different language. These languages are heard only but unwritten, and sometimes those languages share some words and names. They have special costumes that characterize them as well as special dance using sports. We're not finished from the east yet. There are people who call alsmmaka, which is derived from the Arabic word samak, which means fish, and from their name we can guess that they are live in the coasts of the Red Sea and are fishing. They also have their own dance. There is also the Rashaida tribe, a tribe of Arab origin. This tribe is found in many countries, not just in Sudan. It's in Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, Egypt, Palestine, Eritrea, Yemen, and Jordan. And so we can say that its heritage and culture are Arabic. We've reached to the west. Their dances have a purely African character. They have El Merdoum dance, and so on. Other than the difference in the form of traditional singing and the instruments of playing, there is also difference and diversity in the modern singing. Let's take a mix of modern Sudanese singing. We've got this, this, this. And الحماسة. الزنك. And this. And this.
حور الجنان أم أنت إنسان الكمال هل أنت الملاك جئت للناس جمال سبحان من نشاك حسنا في غاية الجمال يهواك الجنوب وإليك ينقاد.
And at the Luca singing.
Volume is very low.
This
It's
form
not
of
audible.
singing is very old and legacy, but it's renewed over time. This type is known to be
I'm
used
not
as part of the
understanding
ritual of the Jarjar,
anything.
which is one of the rituals of Sudanese marriages. It's an original Sudanese heritage, and these Jarjar ceremonies are done to make the couple happy in their married lives, and it's like taking blessings from the adults. The most special thing about it is the outfit couple wear. This does not mean that the bride cannot wear the white wedding dress on her wedding day. Well, she can. The modern weddings have become a combination of modernity and tradition, so the Celtic party is either at the end of the wedding ceremony or on a separate day. There is also what is called bride dancing, and it's attended by the groom and women only. Men are not allowed to attend it. In this party, friends and relatives of the bride gather, and the bride is in the middle of them to dance dances
Please loud आवाज ना
ceremony.
not listen carefully so that loudly आवाज loudly sound ना
Sudan is not only a destination for lovers of multiculturalism, but also for lovers of historical and archaeological areas. And these areas dating back to a very ancient civilizations, and the most important historical archaeological remains are the pyramids. The pyramids of Nubia consist of about 220 pyramids built in three regions of Nubia as tombs for kings and queens of Nubta and Meroe, who ruled the kingdom of Kush. And the first Nubian pyramid was built around 700 years BC. The densest building site for the Nubian pyramids is Meroe, located between the 5th and 6th cataracts of Nile at a distance of about 200 kilometers north of Khartoum. But unfortunately, some pyramids were partially destroyed by the Italian treasure hunter Giuseppe Ferlini in the 1830s. Who is Giuseppe Ferlini and what is his story? Giuseppe Ferlini was an Italian doctor He served as a surgeon accompanying the Egyptian army during the Turkish invasion of Sudan. And while the forces settled in Khartoum and Sinnar, he set out for Meroe, Negha, and Nori in search of treasures. He blew up many pyramids until he found one cache of Kushite gold and jewelry, which later turned out to belong to Queen Amani, and quickly showed it to European museums, and it's currently in Berlin Museum. Let's take a quick overview of this Kushite civilization and learn about the kings to whom these pyramids belong.
The ancient Egyptians built one of the greatest empires in history, and, despite facing many difficulties, managed to maintain their sovereignty over almost the entire Nile River Valley. But Africa has always been a gigantic continent, inhabited by many different peoples. Some wanted to conquer the fertile lands of Egypt. Kingdoms and tribes with origins in Libya, Syria, and Turkey were constantly fighting against Egypt. But there were people whose tenacity and courage frightened even the powerful Egyptians. The Nubians were an African people who lived in the Nubia region in today's Sudan. The Nubian people have been living in that region for a long time. By 3100 BC, there would be Nubian villages along the River Nile. During much of their history, the Nubians did not develop any writing. Much of what we know about them is in the records left by the Egyptians. The Nubia was a region rich in gold veins, semi-precious stones, ebony wood, incense, and ivory. This wide range of resources encouraged the Egyptians to invade that region in search of extremely useful raw materials. The Nubians resisted the Egyptian invasions as much as possible, but they were militarily inferior and were progressively pushed south. Due to the various periods of instability in Egypt, the Nubians were able to organize more effective defenses. During periods of peace, Nubians and Egyptians traded and shared different forms of knowledge. During the reign of Pharaoh Thutmose I, the Nubians were part of the Egyptian Empire, but that dominion quickly collapsed, and the Nubians established a unified kingdom, with Napata as its capital. The Nubians thus founded the Kingdom of Kush, which would become a respected African power. The term Kushite Kingdom comes from the Egyptians, who called the Nubian Kush. The founder of this new kingdom was a tribal leader named Alara, who became king of all the Nubians. With the Kushite kingdom established, the next step was to ensure its defense and economy. For this, Alara's successors reigned successfully, strengthening the kingdom and expanding their domains. The Kushites began to trade with Egypt through the Nile. They also established contact with the Arab kingdoms such as Nabatea and Sheba. The riches of the Kushites were extremely popular. Their leaders, priests, and even farm animals, like horses, were always embellished with pieces of gold and rubies. Over time, and due to the periods of instability in Egypt, the Kushites started to conquer Egyptian cities, including the city of Thebes. At the height of their power, under the command of King Paye, Egypt was fully conquered by the Kushites. King Paye declared himself the champion at the command of the god Amon. He joined his army, warred for over a year against several Egyptians, defeating everyone in his path. The phase of the Kushite and Egyptian history took place during the Third Intermediate Period of ancient Egypt, which began around the year 1070 BC. It is a period also historically known as the Nubian dynasty. The coexistence between Egyptians and Nubians originated marriages between the nobility of the two kingdoms. Both cultures influenced each other in religious and social matters. After consolidating the dominion in Egypt, King Paye returned to the city of Napata, capital of the Kushite kingdom, leaving his brother and successor weapons and a well-trained cavalry. The Kushite rulers had to retreat to Napata. Sometime later, they founded the city of Meroe further south. Meroe became the new capital of the Kushite kingdom. The Kushite rulers adopted the Egyptian custom of erecting pyramids, being buried in those built in the city. During this period, the Kushites began to develop their writing, the MEROITIC script. The Greek historian Diodorus Siculus claimed that the Kushite kings reigned until they received an order from the priests of the Golden Temple. When this happened, they committed suicide and passed the power to the next sovereign. This strange custom lasted until the reign of the leader Ergomenes, different from most of his compatriots. He was an educated man, having studied with Greek teachers and learned philosophy. When Ergomenes was ordered to commit suicide, he was furious. He sent his soldiers to the temple to kill the priests, putting an end to this custom. Women also had important roles in Kushite society, having an active voice in everyday matters. For several times, Kushite queens reigned without the interference of male companions. There are even reports of Kushite women who fought in battles and commanded troops. The king's mother was given the title of Candace, which means Queen Mother. She was the king and queen's advisor. On some occasions, she participated in political negotiations and could even take full command. One of these powerful women, and perhaps the bravest of her people, was Amani Shaketo, who reigned in Kush when Rome had already conquered Egypt after the defeat of Mark Antony and Cleopatra. Rome demanded that the kingdom of Kush pay tribute to the Republic. Amani Shaketo did not accept this demand and considered it an offense, declaring war against Rome. Her soldiers advanced to pillage Egyptian cities under Roman rule. In 24 BC, the Kushites sacked the cities of Aswan, Philae, and Elephantine. They returned to Kush with prisoners, valuable objects, and Roman statues. Even the head of the statue of the Roman Emperor Augustus was taken by Amani Shaketo in a gesture of contempt against the enemy. Upon learning this, Augustus sent Roman general Petronius and his soldiers to punish the Kushites. There are few details about the battle, but Petronius may have said that the Kushites had more than 30,000 warriors and were fighting with frightening fury. Amani Shaketo was described as a corpulent and rough woman. She led her troops and became blind in one eye and being wounded by a Roman. After more than 3 years of fighting, the Romans finally proposed a peace agreement. In the year 20 BC, Romans and Kushites signed a peace treaty. The Roman emperor recognized the kingdom of Kush as an independent power, without being obliged to pay taxes to Rome. The kingdom of Kush lasted until AD 350, but due to a lack of resources and trade, the kingdom was very weakened and dispersed. The once rich and proud Kushite kingdom ended up dominated by the AKSUM Empire, which expanded its borders from the region of Ethiopia. The Kushites were an incredible people, with brave warriors, skilled craftsmen, and wise merchants. Their history shows us the strength and perseverance of the African people, capable of repelling even the powerful Roman Empire.
Muzan, is it the
Okay, I
end
hope
of
you
your
enjoy it.
presentation? Or you want to share something? You can share.
No, it's all what I wanted to share with you.
Okay,
I
then thank you for
tried
your
to
video presentations,
make
and you have nicely
it
compiled the culture
as
and the background history of Sudan.
fun and
Would you like to take some questions from the audience, Muzan? If your internet connection is stable, then we can look for some questions from the audience, because it was interesting topic for us to know about Sudan, because we didn't know that much deep, and that how culturally diverse and with rich histories. So I hope that audience will have some questions.
yes, please ask me whatever you want.
Okay, so the floor is for comments and questions. We have 40 participants. I would like to have some questions. So if you have any questions, please introduce yourself and then ask question to Muzan.